Hey guys, how's it going out there? Hope you guys are doing well today. So today I'm going to be talking about a pretty obscure and I guess you could say a somewhat controversial film called Innocence, which came out in 2004. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the director's name because it's a lot. Just looking at it, I'm like, yeah, I'm just not going to be able to pronounce that. But this film is interesting because I only came across this purely because I was looking at a video essay, and this was about this film, and it looked interesting. I was like, well, I haven't heard of this film before, and to try to find this film is a challenge. I mean, unless you're French, it's not a big challenge, but if you're trying to find the subtitled version of this, it's impossible. Well, not impossible, I guess, because I got it obviously, but it's close to it because I've been trying to watch this movie for about, I guess, almost this whole year now. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, pretty much damn near since like January. I've been trying to find this film because of the problem is the film is on YouTube, but the issue is there's several versions of the full feature film, but either the subtitles are a different language or they have no subtitles, and so pretty much there's no point in watching it since I can't understand what they're saying. So I just gave up. And it just so happened that I found one of many versions that were uploaded a few months ago where it had the official subtitles, or at least I can tell. I'm assuming that the subtitles were completely accurate because it looked like it was. It looked like it was a copy from whatever, I guess like, DVD or something because this film, as I was saying, it's kind of pretty hard to find. Like when I was looking this up, I mean, people have reviewed it and it's out there, but it doesn't seem like a lot of people have even really seen or heard this film, and so the circulation of like DVDs and disc are pretty low. So there's not a lot of places to actually find this film. But after watching the film, I don't exactly know how to feel about this film, but at the same time, I want to talk about it because it's such a strange premise to it. Because the whole premise to the film is that there's this school where little girls between like I guess as young as 6 or 5 and as old as like 12, they show up in a coffin completely naked, and they are brought like so the casket, this casket just appears in the middle of like a room or like one of the bedrooms for the kids, and a girl is inside the coffin completely naked, and then from that point on she's essentially like a semi student slash resident of the school. And I'm still not, and maybe I wasn't paying as much attention as I thought it was, but it never was clear to me exactly how and why. Like that's so much of what I'm kind of hung up with this movie is like, in a way, it seems like this is like a trafficking deal because this school, which is in this remote middle of nowhere, pretty much, is just somehow having random children brought to their school and then having them as like students or tenants, whatever you want to call them, and they're just there. And it's like, I mean, so are these kids being sold? Are they being brought like there? Because what was really confusing to me is that the main girl. So the movie doesn't really have a necessarily a main character, but there's this. I guess she's like 8 or 7. It's like an 8 or 7 year old. I believe she's Japanese or Chinese, one of those. But she's kind of like our entry into the film. Like we were introduced to the school and to pretty much the movie with her, because she comes to the school, naked and the box, and then she's introduced to all the other girls. But she mentions that she was with her brother and that she was trying to find him, and then one of the girls that's there was like, "Well, boys are not allowed here." And you're not going to see him ever again, pretty much. And so I'm like, I don't know exactly if this is like, because what also is strange is that none of the girls that are brought there are like panicked. Like it's not like they come out of the coffin, like freaked out, like where am I? Where's my parents? They all just kind of come out the coffin, just like, oh, okay, I guess I'm here now. Like they're not afraid, they're not scared. They're just kind of just like, okay, this is what I'm doing now. And so that's kind of strange. I do not think the film covered this, and I'll definitely have to rewatch this again at some point. But I do not think the film ever explains that process, and I don't know why, but I was so hooked on that part of the movie because it's just so strange. Like the whole setup, like everything about like this movie is odd. Like also something else that's very strange about this movie, besides the whole plot, is the very odd excessive amounts of child nudity. Which, to be honest, okay, this is not to go to a whole other tangent. I think there is like some, not like a law or something, but you got to the point where I was like, is this like kind of legal to watch almost? Because like, I mean, I don't know. Like I know there's been nudity of children and movies, before, like Pretty Baby and Cuties that came out a few years ago on Netflix. But like, I mean, it is very like excessive in this film to the point where there's just like blocks of just like children, like, and specifically just the girls, because that's all there is. Just like pretty much like not naked entirely, but damn near close to it. And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like, is this I mean, it is as far as I'm aware, and as far as it seems, it is a legal film. It's not like a blacklisted film. It's just kind of strange because also it's just very excessively unnecessary. Like there's so much of this where I'm like, I don't know why they don't have to be like, why they don't have clothes where they have so little on. Like I don't understand that. So that was also strange. That also took me by surprise. Part of why I'm kind of not too keen on like trying to go back and watch it. So I I might. I'm sure I probably, like I was saying earlier about some of the details about the film that I don't quite get. I really don't think that they were explained. But beyond that, the whole setup for this film, as far as like how do I put this, like not the environment, I guess the school, pretty much like the school. The whole setup of this school it almost reminds me of like Illuminati, like secret society, like a Eyes Wide Shut type of situation. Because what it turns out is that this school, because it's not just a school, like we eventually see the whole premise, and it's like it's a giant what do you call that? Like it's several interconnecting buildings that connect to a larger building, but there's a lot of forest in between there, so you have to like navigate to get there. But it turns out that this whole whatever this is funded from ballerina performances. So essentially, all the girls that are at this school, from the moment that they are brought there, they are taught to do ballerina or ballet. And then once they reach, I think it's 12 or 13, I think it's, yeah, pretty much the oldest, which is like the 12 or 13, they do ballet performances at another building that's connected to the school for a private audience. And they make, and that's how the school makes their money, is that people pay to watch these girls perform ballerina. And then once they've reached a certain age and they've been picked to be like the one to go on to do ballet, past the school, and they go on and I think it's another school. Yeah, well, it's another school. I think it's a different country, actually. Well, no, it's a different country, different city, one of the two. And so they go on, and then they have, the younger kids take their place. And so it does kind of give me like very strange secret society vibes, because when the girls are performing the ballet, the audience is completely in darkness. Like all you see are these very shady, like shadowy silhouettes of people in suits and women in fancy dresses with the evening gloves and the hats. But you never really see anybody. There's like all these like shadowy, very mysterious people that are just there. You never know who they are. You never you never really see anybody. You just kind of see silhouettes in the crowd. So it's kind of eerie actually, because you just have this very almost looks like a New York professional theater stage of these like 12, 13, 14-year-old girls performing ballerina for this group of just strange adults who pay exclusively to see this. And at one point, when the girls were performing, a guy from the upper balcony, he like tosses a rose down to one of the girls, and he's like, "You're like the beautifulest of them all." And I'm like, "Dude, she's like fucking 13. What are you talking about?" Um, so it's a very fucked situation. It's a very weird, and it's a very weird system because there's some maids who are like they're not just maids, but they're like housekeepers. There's like older women that like tend to the house, and they like feed the kids, and they like do like the laundry and pretty much like the general upkeep. And so there's a lot of different like speculations throughout the film of like how like certain people are there. Like there was one where they're like the old women that are helping, like that are there, are like being punished because they try to escape, and so now they're stuck there forever. And so now they can only serve as like housekeepers. They can't go on to do ballerina and all that. So that's interesting because and there's also two other girls, not girls but women, and they're younger. They're like I guess I would put them like at 13. Hell, not 13. Fucking no, like probably 30. They're probably like 30, 35 ish. Probably like in their mid 30s. And the one main girl, she's the ballerina instructor. And she was a former student. So both the two women were former students of the school. And they still remain there. And then now they teach and pretty much like work for the school. And I will say, out of all the characters, because the thing about this movie is there aren't really, I wouldn't say there are characters, obviously, but there's not really a main character. And you really never spend a whole lot of time with anybody to get to know a character. I will say with that, there is one little girl. She's blonde. I don't know. I'm sure they said her name, but she is a straight up fucking psychopath. Or at least she's in the making of being a fucking serial killer or mass shooter later in her life, because she's just sadistic to a fucking insane point. Like, she just, for no reason, just starts beating the fuck out of the younger Japanese girl to where she starts bleeding, and then she like takes some blood from her and licks it and like smiles. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, Jesus fucking Christ, this chick needs to be in a fucking insane asylum, not a goddamn ballerina school. But going back to the other lady, I would say that I think the one main character, if you could say that, would be the ballerina instructor. And it's kind of weird that I would say she's the main character, only because she's not in it a whole lot, but when she's there, I think it's a lot more impactful than the other characters, because you really see. I don't know if I want to. I mean, I guess if you want to be spoiled, you might want to squirrel ahead a little bit. But a spoiler that happens is one of the little girls decides that she wants to leave, that she doesn't want to stay there, and so she gets on a boat that sinks and she dies, she drowns. And the ballet instructor, it really gets to her, the death of this girl. And you really see throughout the film like how this whole system and her being part of it is like really getting to her. And it's interesting because like even though she doesn't have a lot of screen time, you can tell there's a lot there. Like, she doesn't say a whole lot, but you can just kind of tell her facial expressions, how she kind of like licks certain things. You can just kind of like read her emotion, like read what she's thinking. And so I thought she was the most interesting, because even at the end, when one of the main girls is going to the other place, she asked her like, "Well, what's going to happen now?" And the ballet instructor is like, "Well, one thing's for sure, you're going to forget about this." And but just the way she says it is just so like almost like just not broken, but just like kind of just disheartened by like, like your life is pretty much going to be just so fucking awful from this point on that like all of this is just going to be non-existent to you in a few years. And I thought like at one point that she was going to try to like, I don't know, like help the girls escape or something like that, but she was the only adult that really kind of had that sense of like, yeah, this is fucked what we're doing here. This is not right. This is not wrong. Or not, this is not, this isn't right. Like, we need to be doing something about this. But she never really like actively does anything. She just kind of is, just kind of vocalizes a little bit of like how she doesn't want some of the girls to turn out like her and the other chick. But that's about it. I thought there was going to be some type of breakout or something, which I guess for this film wouldn't really work. Although one girl does break out. I say break out like it's fucking Alcatraz or something, but she does actually get over. There's like these giant walls surrounding the school, and she actually manages to get over and leave. I was like, I was glad. I was like, man, I was actually kind of like not. What was the word? Yeah, I was actually kind of invested in that, even though the girl that escaped, I mean, she was kind of one of the main girls, but not really. But she had the most development. And I was like, yeah, you definitely need to get the fuck out of here if you can. And she did. So I was happy about that. I was like, I'm glad she, was able to escape out of there. But yeah, this film was just, I don't know, like it's such a strange film on so many levels. Just like the school, the setup, and also something about this film. I mean, talking like as far as in the film, something else that kind of I wasn't sure about is there's a lot of girls there. Like there's a lot. So like I was saying earlier about how there's like connecting buildings. So we only see the group of girls with one building, but there's actually more buildings with girls in there. So it's a lot. It's a lot of girls here. And the one thing I couldn't also I couldn't help but think was like, I mean, surely with all because they all are going to get older at some point, and either A, they're going to have to leave because they're older, or B, they're going to go on. Like, and I just couldn't imagine that out of all these girls, that not somebody, or at least a group of them, when they got older, like tried to tell people about this place and be like, hey, like you need to like something needs to be done about this. Like it was just kind of hard for me to imagine that because this has been going on for a while. Like, is from what I could tell in the movie, like this system had been in place for like at least seemed like a damn near 100 years. And it was just kind of strange that like with as many girls that are there, I just could not see that not one of them would try to like kind of go to authorities or police or be like, hey, like, yeah, I was part of this, school system or trafficking or anything. And so, yeah, I was just kind of curious about that because when there's a few scenes where you see like how many kids are there, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I just don't buy that not a single one of them would either A, escape and tell the authority, like what happened earlier, like the one girl escaped. Like I can't imagine that between the girls that escape and the ones that just get older and leave, I can't imagine that not one person has tried to out them or like tried to expose what's going on there. And it could be that they tried to, but because it seems like this setup is pretty well connected. Like I was saying earlier, it seems like a straight up like Illuminati operation. So it could be that like very powerful people are involved in any type of like police investigation or something like that. Probably just wouldn't happen. I feel like I'm probably going a little bit too deep into that. I think I put more thought into that than the movie probably did. That is me just kind of going into a rabbit hole of that. But it was just something I kind of thought about because the thing is the school, because like, I mean, it's not like this is I mean, it is dystopian in a lot of ways, but as far as like the children, like they don't live like an exceptional like poverty or like the staff are horribly abusive and treat them bad and they're like borderline slaves. I mean, I guess you could argue that in a way because I mean they're being exploited for free labor to fund this organization and this operation. But the girls are treated pretty good, and they're well taken care of. They're well fed, and so yeah, it's just it's such a it's such a strange setup, and I had more questions after watching it than I did at the beginning because I thought like, well, by the end of the movie, I'll kind of understand like a little bit more, and I did. Like, I will say the movie is good in certain regards with explaining certain things, like things that you need to know for the film. Like, there's a, I guess you would call it like a not a ranking system, but essentially each age group has like a different color like hair ribbon. And like once you get to a certain age, you get a different one. And then once you get to the last color, that means like you're about to reach not like maturity, but like womanhood. And then that's when you're picked to audition for the ballerina performance the for the theater. And so that was interesting. And I was like glad that they explained that. I just wish that they kind of explained more things that I was kind of hung up on throughout the film. And like I said, that they might have been explained, but I don't think it was. And to be honest, I don't necessarily. I'm not. It's not that this is a bad film, but it's not a film I necessarily would be interested in wanting to rewatch. Like right after. This is something like months or years later, you might be like, "Oh yeah, I might give that a second go around." But yeah, that's been my thoughts on this film. They're kind of all over the place, but because this film is just so, I wouldn't say it's all over the place, but yeah, the film just kind of goes everywhere, and there's so many different components of the film that's like just everywhere. But yeah, that's been my thoughts on this film. I would say, and I know it is kind of a hard sell because even though it's free on YouTube and there is like a subtitle version, yeah, understandably so, I can see a lot of people being very uncomfortable to the point of just not being able to watch this. I would recommend it for people who could actually like stomach it and actually watch it. Just because I think there is a lot there, and like I was saying, I think that even on the second rewatch, I feel like the film does have some merit for a rewatch, and I think the film on its own has merit. But I can see why a lot of people would just not be interested in watching it. But with that said, I think I'm gonna call it a day here, and until next time, I will see you guys later.